Thank you, Maria. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 7th meeting of the Technical Working Group. And I would like to thank you, all of you, for your time to join us today. Before starting the main part of our meeting, let me provide a brief overview of our last meeting, as always. I'm pretty sure that you all remember that in our last meeting, Mr. Puji Pujiana introduced the draft 5-year strategic plan for the TWG, which was drafted by the Secretariat based on the TOR terms of reference of the Technical Working Group as agreed by the UN ESCAP Committee on Statistics. And then also it is based on the results of a survey on the status of disaster-related statistics. Also interviews with the selected members of the technical working group and discussions and decisions taken by the group during our first 5 meetings. The 5-year strategy plan was available on the Confluence platform for online comments by the 16th of April. And then we were strongly encouraged to use the opportunity to provide our comments, suggestions, and improvements to ensure the final plan is fully owned by the membership of the technical working group. So hopefully most of us were able to put your efforts, inputs, and provide your comments and suggestions on the plan. And of course, we had very informative and interesting country presentation from Bhutan and then Turkey last time. So with that, I would like to start our today's meeting. And as always, we will start the session with the Secretariat first. And now I would like to ask Puji from the Secretariat to start his presentation. Today, Puji will present the 5-year strategic plan for the technical working group based on our comments and recommendations and suggestions. And then he will be followed by Mr. Backup from the Statistical Institute of Asia and the Pacific. Puji, the floor is yours. Thank you. You have 15 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Peace to all of you, and I hope this has been a blessed Ramadan to all of us. Now, I'm instructed by the Chair to brief you on the 5-year plan of the Technical Working Group with a lot of hope that you all given comment to the draft that was distributed or put at the conference last month. But I'm quite sad to say, Madam Chair, that none of our members are giving any comments to the plan. That being said, though, the Secretariat doesn't feel right, you know. If no one is giving an input, so maybe it's not correct to push the plan, because the plan is put together by Secretariat on the basis of the discussion. So it will look rather awkward if we push it, right? So instead of that, we would like to have your permission, Madam Chair, to use the 15 minutes now to do a little exercise. And we propose, Madam Chair, that 2 weeks from now, the Friday after next, we would like to organize a meeting, a special workshop, right? Not just 15 minutes, maybe 15 days. No, I mean, maybe 2 hours with members and really to dig into the plan, right? A dedicated session. And the result of that workshop will be reported to the 8th meeting of the Technical Working Group. Maybe that will give justice to the plan, Madam Chair. So we propose that Friday, 2 Fridays from now. What date is that? 2 Fridays from now is, what is 2 days, 2 Fridays from now? No, anyway, 2 Fridays from now, the date escaped me. So, Madam Chair, if you allow me now, we would like to invite our colleagues, members, to use the next 12 minutes Oh, Sonam is bringing the baby to the meeting. Hello, Sonam. This is Angpola. We would like to invite the group to a Mentimeter exercise, meaning a little polling. Right? We will ask you a question like this.
Yes, of course, Puji. Yeah.
Yeah. There are only three parts in the work plan. We will ask you which those parts are very close to your countries, in terms of which one you will benefit it most, and then which part that you will be able to contribute most, and so on, right? Only just three questions. But before that, Madam Chair, I would like to invite everybody to revisit the plan at the conference with several purposes. One, for you to have a look at the plan. And number two, for you to be familiar with the conference. If you haven't visited yet, now it's your time. So can I request Secretariat to share the link at the chatting box, please? Have a look at the chatting box, and then you can follow that link. That link will take you to the plan, only one page, and then have a look at it. Okay? And the one that you have to answer later is, which part of that plan, number 1, 2, or 3, that your country will be most benefited from. Okay? And then have a look again, which part of that plan that your country will be able to contribute most. And our third question is, what are the missing parts that need to be added? Okay? So now we let you to read for about 5 minutes before we start the exercise. And I will stay quiet. Okay, just a reminder that you read that plan as a 5-year plan. All right, there are 3 areas, and then you walk through to the right side, meaning year number 1, year number 2, to year number 5. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now that those minutes are passing quietly, we trust that you read the plan. Now, Madam Chair, I would like to move to the exercise. We would like to post to you a Mentimeter. My colleague Tisha will post the Mentimeter link at the chat box. I would like you to click that link at the chat box. Okay. And that will lead to your mobile phone with 3 questions. Okay. If you do not click the chat from the chat box, you can go to your mobile phone and go to the menti.com and then enter the code 93836721. As you can see on the screen. Let me repeat. Go to the website menti.com and then enter the code 93836721. The first question, which part of the plan will benefit your country the most? And we already see some entries. Okay, there is some more. All right. There are 19 entries from 19 participants, 20. Very good. At this point now, ladies and gentlemen, you see that 4.3, 21 is still moving, but I will just read it anyway. You can keep entering. Which parts of the plan will benefit your country the most? Most of you are saying that strengthening members' technical capacity is the one that will benefit your countries most. I think this is quite understandable. And on the rank number 2, supporting members' governance of disaster statistics. So aside from technical, there is also governance side. And component number 2, which is contributing to the development of internationally agreed standards, has the least taker. Ranjit, you're raising your hand. Any question? Ranjit? Okay.
Hello. I don't hear I cannot access the Minty.com. So get the
okay.
So can I get the ID code?
Yes. The ID code is 9383.
Yes.
6721.
Okay.
Yes.
612. Yes. Okay. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's it. The section number 1 of the plan is the one that benefits you most, and number 2 is on the governance, and number 3 is contributing to the development of internationally agreed standards. Can we move on to the second question, please? Second question, very similar, but from the different direction. Which part of the plan your country will contribute most? Right, the same thing. Could you enter the Menti, and then you enter your choice using the rating scale. Okay. Similar to the previous one, we would like you to enter your poll over there. Okay, right now there's a tie on the question as to which part your country could contribute most. Your response has been okay. 4.1 is on the strengthening capacity, and then similar to 4.1, contributing to the development of internationally agreed standards, and then of list of your option is supporting the members' governance on disaster statistics. So that is 4.1, 4.1, and then 3.6. Thank you very much. Can I move on now to number 3, please? The last question is an open-ended question. You can write anything you want. This is a question. What are the areas of priorities that should be added to the plan that are not there yet, now that you've seen the plan already? What is it that you want to see it added? Okay. Some of you wrote you want to add community engagement. Okay, please add some more. I can read disaster preparedness and planning, accountability to affected population. I have to remind you that this is about disaster statistics. So unless you mean it as a statistic of the disaster preparedness, it will be interesting how to enter it there. Institutional arrangements, I guess this is about the governance of the disaster statistics. Manual recommendation, yes, I think it makes sense. If you develop a new statistic, we need to have a manual for it. Best practices, yes. Capacity building, coordination between agencies and community, similar to intersectoral coordination. Okay. Local administration capacity building in disaster statistics. And that the countries of the region should be strengthened enough. Okay. Very good. While you're entering this one, could I invite some of you to make comments of your response to this poll, please? Anyone? Anybody? Otherwise, I would request maybe Rike to shed the light to make a comment over the comments. Would you do that, Rike?
Yes, sure, Fuji. Thanks for putting me on the spot here. I mean, first, let me just reflect a little bit on the rating or ranking on that came out of the first two questions, maybe, because even though Fuji declared a clear winner for both of them, what I find is quite striking is that they received actually very similar ranking. And that tells me that these three streams that we've so far put into the proposed 5-year plan for the group are more or less reflecting what all of you guys, the members of this TWG, actually do consider priorities. So I'm quite happy with that. Now on these other areas of priorities, what I'm seeing is one of the first things that came to my mind reading was a bit similar to Puji's first reaction. Remember, this group is about disaster-related statistics. So if there's areas or priorities listed here, I simply assume that what we are talking about is that you would add either statistics on a particular topic, or if it just says intersectional coordination, I'm reading it as intersectional coordination on data or among institutions that are holders of data or users of the data. So I'm also seeing quite a few things here listed so far, actually pointing to the need to probably elaborate a bit on the plan. A lot of the comments here relate to, we need some specific milestones towards, fully compiling the disaster-related statistics that's needed, for example, for our international monitoring requirements. And that is something that could always be added. So as you see now, it's like a one-page document, which is very much focused sort of on sort of the more visionary goals maybe, and having to add to a plan like this some of the more practical sort of implementation steps, I think is something that we definitely need to do. I do find that most of the comments so far mentioned, I can see fit into one of the boxes that are already in the plan, actually, as part, of a further development of the plan. So I'm very happy, and it's actually very inspiring to see your inputs on this. It gives a lot of good ideas. So that's it for me right now, Puji.
Thank you. Good. So, colleagues, as was mentioned by Rika, I think now that you have seen the plan, almost by force, by bringing you to that side, I hope, one, you're familiar with the Confluence. You know that you can have access to it. You know that there are many information in it. You know that you can communicate to one another through that Confluence. And number two, you know that there is a plan. And number three, you know that we are proposing to have an extended conversation, some sort of dedicated workshop, 2 weeks from now at the same time. And Madam Chair, maybe from now until the next 2 weeks, we could also send the result of this polling with some key questions, some stimulating points, so that when we meet again 2 weeks from now, we will speak of substance. Okay? So with that, Madam Chair, I would like to return the microphone to you with many thanks to colleagues who participate, and we look forward to talking further with you and meeting you 2 weeks from now, if nothing changed. Madam Chair, over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Puji Pujana. And then I'm very sorry to hearing that there is no any comments and suggestions from us. And then hopefully in 2 weeks, we can get more comments and suggestions, and then more efforts and inputs on the 5-year strategic plan. So as Puji has suggested, we will have the workshop or training on 15th of May, like as you said, like 2 weeks after this meeting. It's like a 15th of May, and then 1 p.m. Bangkok time. So I highly encourage our members to actively participate for providing your comments and inputs on our strategic plan. I'm sure that we all are busy with the COVID-19, but please make some time and then have a look on the strategic plan. Thank you very much. So let me move to our next presenter from the Secretariat. I would like to ask Mr. Bakker to present the feedback on the first facilitated disaster-related statistical framework training at the Statistical Institute for Asia and the Pacific platform, and then plan for a national level training on this disaster-related statistical framework. And then it will be followed by a 30 minutes discussion. Mr. Bakker, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I hope everybody can hear me okay. I'll try to post my presentation here very quickly. Thank you, colleagues. A pleasure to see all of you here again at the working group. We thought we'd provide you with a very brief update on where we are with the training and some of the follow-up activities, as the chair mentioned. So I hope everybody can see the first slide of the presentation. So again, my name is Sokol Vakwa. I'm with the Statistical Institute here in Asia and the Pacific, and we have been working closely, obviously, with our friends at ESCAP and more broadly in some of the capacity building activities in this space. So as you know, we ran the course, the regional facilitated course, it was a good success. Many thanks again to the members for their contributions. We had over 100 colleagues in the region successfully complete the course, and soon it will be open to all as a self-paced course. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks, everybody who's interested can take it. Now, having completed this activity, we have had some discussions on how we can leverage the e-learning that we have done for some national level capacity building. And I think this ties very well to the discussion that Puji led us in with technical capacity building and the governance institutional mechanism component of it being a priority for the countries in the region. So we would like to pilot a national workshop program for upscaling the implementation of disaster-related statistics, obviously based on the framework that we have in place, aiming at tackling a number of issues, including capacity building. And I think some of the colleagues mentioned as well capacity building at the local level, so this could be leveraged in that context. Developing national work plans and identifying priority areas of work, as well as agreeing to institutional mechanisms and responsibilities. I wanted to emphasize that the pilot program aims to be flexible to country needs and capacities, and we very much look to countries to lead and guide us on what are the greatest needs and how we can be most effective in scaling up the implementation of disaster-related statistics in Asia Pacific. So just a little bit more detail, my last slide here to be very brief. One potential approach, again, I wanted to emphasize here that we want the approach to be determined by the country and in coordination and collaboration with us. We stand here to support and facilitate that process. Is for basically countries and colleagues in the various line ministries and throughout the national statistical system, and as well as the disaster management agency and more broadly in the country. Prior to a national workshop, they complete the online course and a short diagnostic tool that we are currently developing. And then we have that with follow that up with some follow-up live sessions, where again, I list 3 topics here that are potential items for us to cover, including national policies and data needs, and also the substantive topics of interest and outstanding questions from the online component of our training can be discussed. The coordination of work on statistics-related statistics in the country can be another component that is discussed during live sessions. The creation of a potential working group as well as a program of work for this where details are laid out, timelines, and then obviously resources can also be thought of as far as what is needed to get the work done in the work program. And then last but not least, also to facilitate some work on data availability and priority areas of work. Obviously, there is a lot of overlap between these areas. And again, we are very keen to adapt and frame this as best we can to meet the needs of the countries. So This is a very brief introduction to these national level workshops. Those who are interested should reach out to us to see how we can move this forward at the country level. Obviously, depending on demands and whatnot, we might not be able to meet all the requests right away, but obviously we will do our level best to be as helpful as we can in leveraging what we have already done and trying to then scale this up at the country level. Let me stop right there and thank you again. Obviously very happy to take any questions or comments that colleagues might have on this. I know it's a very rough outline, but we are happy to have bilateral discussion if you think that having a national level training based on the online course and then building out from that would be something that is of value to your country right now to cover some of these topics that we mentioned on capacity building, on national planning, and on coordination governance structures. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Bakker, for a very great and informative presentation. And then if you who are interested in that capacity building content, please contact the ESCAP or SIP. Thank you, Bakker, again. So we have a Mr. Sanjay Kumar from India. Floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just I have a question that I was also involved in finalizing the Emodule on disaster statistics. So I also want to complete that course, but I'm not able to get in on the website of that SIAP. If the SIAP people can guide us how to register for this course, it will be good for me. Thank you.
Mr. Bakker?
Yes, the course is currently not available for self-paced. We are just transitioning from the facilitated to self-paced. So we will inform you through this venue. Probably over the next 2 weeks, it will be open and available for people to take as self-paced. So it just needs to be rearranged a little bit in the system. So right now, correctly, as our colleague from India, Mr. Sanjesh mentioned, it is not available, but it should be fixed shortly. So bear with us here over the next few days while we put that up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Also, we have a couple of people. So, City from Malaysia, floor is yours. City.
Yes,
hello. Yeah, floor is yours. Go ahead.
Can you see me?
Yes, now we can see you. Yeah, hello.
Okay, hello.
Yeah, floor is yours. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Maria, can we have my slides ready?
Okay, City.
Yes.
We still have discussions for the presentations of Sokol and Puji. So we will go to the session on sharing of country practices a little later.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I thought that you have a question from Mr. Bakker from Puji. Sorry, it's my mistake. So also we have Norwandi.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Wandi from Cambodia. Hello.
Hello, Miss Wandi. Yes, please go ahead.
Hello. Hello. I'm Wandi from Cambodia.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
yeah,
Paul, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for clarification about the program for national capacity building at national level. We want to make clear what about the schedule that ESCAP to help the program. I mean the schedule when they start the program and the project, what the end of the project will be ended for the national capacity building. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. From Secretariat, who wants to answer the question?
Maybe, Madam Chair, I can briefly start, and then if colleagues in ESCAP as the Rika and Maria can add as well. As far as the online training component and the national sort of the national workshops that would follow up from that, these will be done on a rolling basis and continuous basis depending on country demands and country needs. So there is no deadline because as of now from this component, this is in-kind support that's being provided for this particular endeavor. So it doesn't require us to get any additional resources from outside. So it's on a rolling basis. I think we would need to have obviously bilateral discussions to firm up what the aims of it would be and what the needs would be in your context and how it fits with the work program that we have and the materials that are ready. But there are no deadlines. It's just more of setting this up, and also I think probably the more challenging bit in the initial setup is getting the institutions in countries to come together and folks in the various line institutions to agree to participate in the endeavor. But to answer your question again, there is no deadline. It's just we will continue doing this depending on demands and supporting you that way. I see Maria's hand is up as well. So.
Okay. Sorry, I have one clarify. If so, how we contact or do we need any procedure for the submit or any guidance for us to apply for the your assistant? I mean the procedure admin, or you can drop me email or contact address or any form to fill up for this. If we want to apply for your assistant or training specific for the Cambodia, so what any procedure that we can apply for?
We will try to make this as painless as possible and not over-engineer it. So I think initially we can have some informal discussions over email, and then with as that progresses, we can formalize it through exchange of letters at a later stage. But I think initially we want to be flexible and not worry too much about that component of formal arrangements initially. Let's just have some bilateral discussions over email or even a phone call at some point to sort out details on what is needed and what can be done, and then we can formalize that. I hope I have that right, Ricky and Maria.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, maybe I can just add what I wanted to stress. One point that Sokol just mentioned, and that is for any kind of technical support in the form of advice, training, extended by ESCAP and SIAP, it is very, very important. There is some groundwork in each country so that the involved institutions are all together in the kind of training or other type of technical support. Because as we've heard from, I think, every single presentation in this technical working group on the state of affairs in a country, that institutional coordination and collaboration is a very, very fundamental building block for disaster-related statistics to kick off. So any of you who would be interested in ESCAP Statistics Division and SIAP working together with you to advance disaster-related statistics, I'll ask you to do a little homework first and make sure that if there is a request, an email sent, that you know that you are actually behind it as a country, because this will make everything following that so much easier. And in terms of who to contact, you can contact SOCAL, you can contact myself. I'll just put my details in the chat here just to make it easy. And I mean, you're very welcome, and I'm fully aligned with SOCAL. We've been talking about this. We want to have a non-bureaucratic process, but of course you also have to understand that we can't initiate support to 50 countries in one go. So it will have to, of course, be different types of collaboration initiated when the resources are there to do it. But we don't need long forms or anyone to fill some forms out for applying for this kind of support. Yeah, thanks. That was just a few additions to me. Yeah.
Thank you, Ricky. Maria, would you like to add some more?
Thank you, Ms. Chair. Aside from what Ricky and SOCAL has said, actually for the TWG, we will be doing a training component for the TWG. So after this meeting, we will come up with our plan for training up to December. So this is aside from SOCAL's initiative, SIAP's initiative for a national workshop. So that's one. And I think I have a question for SOCAL. Maybe the countries would like to ask if ever they will be interested. Is there like a maximum amount of number that the SIAP can accommodate for this national workshop? Like for 2021, for example, do you have like you can accommodate 2 or how does it go? I mean, is it will it also be available for next year? And what would be probably the criteria that is it on a first come first serve basis, on a demand basis, or so that you know, the countries would have like an idea if they will be the most fitting candidate for this national workshop. So that's Ms. Chair.
Yes.
Thank you, Maria. Mr. Paco, would you like to answer the question?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Maria. I think for as far as deadlines and whatnot, we do not have any. We envision that this will be remotely done. So at this point, there are no, at least on the resource side, is just our time, which is the major constraint that we have, and obviously colleagues in Bangkok, Maria, you and your team as well it will require some time on our end. So there is no constraints as far as that goes. I think, ideally we can support probably 3 to 4 countries, maybe 5 every year, depending on how things line up. But I have to say, from other programs of work, once these things are set up, it's fairly easy to replicate. So I think we learn very quickly from what works and what doesn't. So the first couple of times it might be a little bit more time consuming, but after that it should be more streamlined, at least on the support that we can provide, given some of the overlap on needs, as was reflected in the Mentimeter that Shuji ran and the comments that we have heard today. So I'm very optimistic that we can meet demands fairly quickly from the countries. There is no criteria as far as, we want to be as adaptive within the constraints that we have and what we can offer as far as the statistics go. be as adaptive as possible to what the countries need. So if there is a need to help with institutional mechanism, and that's where the aim is, and that's what the country is requesting, we will adapt to that component of it. If the need is to have a little bit more on the capacity building side of things, then we can adapt to that as well. So I don't want to put constraints on this as far as topics and priorities from our end, because the priority is to meet the needs of the countries. I would just say at this point, to echo what Rick has said, we want to keep it a little bit informal at the beginning, have some discussions on what we can support, and then hopefully we can come to a good outcome with the country, having the support of the national statistical system in doing this, not just the National Statistical Office, along with the obviously the National Disaster Management Authority. So I know that was not very concrete, but I think we also don't want to straitjacket things as well. So. Thank you, Madam Chair. Back to you.
Yeah. Thank you, Bako. So hopefully all our members who are really interested to get this training or this content, please contact ESCAP or Mr. Bako SIAP. So is there any questions or comments or any suggestions regarding the 5-year strategic plan or this training component for the capacity building? If there is no further questions or comments, I will close the first session and then move to the next session. Now I can see Mr. Moore already joined us. So Mr. Clinton Moore from the Capacity and then Data Development Analyst. He is a Capacity and then Data Development Analyst at the Asian Sustainable Urbanization and then UN Habitat Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific. So he will moderate our next session, the country sharing its good practices and experiences. Today we have two presentations, country presentations. One is from Malaysia and the other one from the Philippines. So I would like to give the floor to Mr. Moore for the next, to facilitate the next session. Mr. Moore, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Baiklah, and my apologies about my long title. I know it's a bit of a mouthful. A very good afternoon to you all, or indeed morning or evening, wherever you are. So, as Madam Chair said, my name is Clinton Moore. I'm a Capacity and Data Development Analyst for ASEAN Sustainable Urbanization in UN Habitat's Bangkok office, although I am working remotely in Australia at the moment. And I'm really happy to be here representing UN Habitat today and moderating this session at the Technical Working Group. As I said to before everybody came in at the start of the session, given my role and my interest in researching urbanization trends and urbanization related data and statistics across ASEAN primarily, I was really delighted to accept this invitation today. So thanks for having me. And that first session before was interesting for me in the sense that I could understand the strategic plan of the group and what some of your aspirations are. So a special thank you to Miss Maria for the opportunity and her assistance in communicating with me before today's session. So without further delay, let's move on to the content and our speakers for this country sharing session, which we have 50 minutes as per the agenda. We have 50 minutes for this session. And this session is about sharing good practices in our two countries today, Malaysia and the Philippines, focusing on data collection and compilation and data utilization and sharing. In the interests of time, I do request to our presenters to keep to the 15 minutes per presentation. And please, if participants have questions, they may use the chat box to ask those questions, which will inform a discussion in the final 20 minutes of this session. So for our first presentation, I welcome Ms. Che Siti, who is the Principal Assistant Director of the Mitigation Division from the National Disaster Management Agency of Malaysia, to deliver insights on recent developments and initiatives on disaster-related statistics in Malaysia. Welcome and thank you. The floor is yours, Ms. Chair, and terima kasih. Thank you.
Thank you, Clinton. Okay, shall I start? Hello and a very good afternoon to everyone. This is a great pleasure to be here today to share some the experience of Malaysia in terms of disaster-related statistics together with Department of Statistics Malaysia. Okay, next. Again, my name is Cik Siti from National Disaster Management Agency. I'm not a statistician. I'm an administrator. I'm doing the administrative work here. Where's my slides? I cannot see. Okay, before we move further, let me share briefly about the disaster landscape in Malaysia for those who first time listen to this. So in general, Malaysia, we have two seasons of climate, the hot and humid throughout the year. And then we have two distinct monsoons and two intermonsoon in between. And the first monsoon is northeast monsoon, occurs from November to March, which is bring a lot of rains during the seasons. And then the second monsoon is southwest monsoon, occurs from June to August. And then in between, there are two intermonsoon seasons. Like currently on April until May, we have a thunderstorm, heavy rain in the evening. And then the second intermonsoon happened on September to October. Next. Okay, in terms of disaster, we are often affected mostly by floods, and we have some incidents of landslides, haze, as well as the some rare cases of earthquake and tsunami. And then from the informed 2019 natural hazard and exposure risk, Malaysia is about 3.4 out of 10 score for disaster. So we are considered as a not disaster prone country. And then annually flood is the most frequent, and then give a significant damage to the people, property, and also the crop, as well as the other losses for such as the infrastructure, as we experienced a big flood in 2014. And then according to the ASEAN Risk Monitor Disaster ARMOR in 2019, Malaysia had the highest percentage of population exposed to the floods among the ASEAN member states between 2012 until 2019. And then we have significantly 51 natural disaster happen in the period of 2 decades, and then which resulted in about 300 casualties, over 3 million people affected, and then the damage causes nearly 2 billion US dollars. Next. A little bit about the northeast monsoon season, which brings an extreme rainfall. So we often faced with the flood, especially at the northeast of Peninsular Malaysia. And then in 2018 alone, out of floods, we have about 110 disaster occurrences. and then 60% of it are floods. And yes, besides flood, we also have a low frequency but high impact disasters like debris flow, which there is a few debris flow incident that kill about hundreds of people, especially who live at the hilly area. Okay, next. In terms of the disaster management, in terms of the information disaster management, in NATMA we have our National Emergency Operation Center, National EOC, we call it National Disaster Command Center. This is the center which operated 24/7, 364 days a year, and then this facility provides the daily monitoring of the disaster happens in Malaysia, and then disseminate the early warning, especially for during the heavy rainfall, and then the flood forecasting, and then we also update every 4 hours during the disaster, the situation reports, and then after the disaster, the NDCC will provide the post-disaster report for the top management as well as for the public dissemination. And then here we have a system, we call it MyDIMS, Malaysia Disaster Information Management System, which is manage and systematically report on the situation, and then disseminate the information through social media and the application to the public. And okay, at the moment, the capacity of MyDIMS or the NDCC, we only report on the situation during disaster, which is pay attention on the mortality, on the evacuees, on the active evacuation center. So we are looking forward to expand the function of the NDCC to cater the information before the disaster as well as post-disaster event. Next. Okay, this is some. I would like to share some statistics on the floods during the northeast monsoon happened from 2014 and until to 2020, which is as you can see, even though the flood is the most common disaster happened in Malaysia, but the affected population is quite low. The highest one is about 2% affected population from the overall population of Malaysia, and the lowest are about 0.08% affected. So as you can see, this is the information provided by the NDCC. As I mentioned, the only focusing on the reporting of the event, of the impact of the event. Okay, next. Okay, as the national focal point for disaster management in Malaysia, NATMA is responsible to manage or to manage the initiative of Sendai Framework Monitor, Sendai SFDRR, Sendai Framework for Disaster Risk Reduction, as well as the annual reporting of Sendai Framework Monitor. Because today I would like to share on the perspective of NATMA instead of Department of Statistics. So I like to actually share the Sendai Framework Monitor reporting by Malaysia from 2005 until 2020, which is for target A, we don't have actually a problem for the mortality and for the affected people, but the problem in terms of the statistic to get the damage and losses for target C as well as the target D. So maybe the issue that I would like to highlight after this is related to this Sendai Framework, our experience in terms of reporting for Sendai Framework Monitor. Okay, next. Regarding on the issues on disaster-related statistic on the NATMA point of view, there are, I would like to list 4 issues that we are dealing with. The first one is the disconnected data of disaster to national statistical system. At the moment, the reporting at the reporting of disaster at the national statistical system is only for flood, and then covers only the mortality, which is I think there are more rooms for improvement in terms of to cover all 7 targets of Sendai frame SFDRR. And then disconnected data is actually happen maybe because of we have a multi-sectoral coordination of interagency which is quite tricky, because each sector have their own data, and then the sharing is not really, we are still lacking in terms of sharing of data. And then the second one is lack of mandate, because if I may share, NATMA was established in 2015, 6 years ago. So we don't have actually the act or the legal mandate to manage the disaster risk management in Malaysia. We only have the cabinet decision, which is not strongly enough to actually to be a central agency to ask for data for disaster and data for risk management of disaster. So this is one of the issue in terms of gather the data and information from various sectors, including the privates as well as the universities, etc. And then the third issue is actually on the security concern in terms of data collection and information dissemination. If I may share on the target D, we need to acquire data from the private, such as telecommunication services or company, and then they quite reluctant because of in their thought that the information that has been given to us will be some sort of punishment if they fail to provide a service, or if during the disaster there is a disruption of services that they provided. So the security concern also on in terms of if they give the data, how secure the data that the government will give. Okay. And the last one is lack of standardization of disaster reporting format compatible with SFM. I would like to refer directly to the damage and losses data, because even though we have like a standard template like for damage and losses like DALA, damage and losses assessment, but it have to be suit or to be customized with the needs at the local, at the country and the local needs. And then it is also difficult to have a standards, because like the value of the losses is different from each states. Even though in Malaysia we have 14 states, so it is quite tricky, but we are now on our track to provide the template of disaster damage and losses to be reported online. So next. Okay, this is my last slide. I hope that I made 15 minutes, Clinton. Okay, so there is an opportunity. When there is an issue, there is an opportunity to improve. The first one is the improvement that we are talking about in Malaysia is to improve the policy and regulatory. At the moment, NATMA is in the middle of preparing the national policy on disaster risk reduction, and then also in formulating the specific act on disaster risk reduction, which is one of the clause that emphasize is the power to the Director General of NAPMA to do a data collection or to ask a data of data related to disaster, not only data during response, data during preparedness, but also the data for do the risk assessment. And then the second one is the capabilities. When I mentioned that NDCC, we are still lacking in terms of reporting for the information before and post disaster. So there is starting from next year, we are going to upgrading national EOC, our NDCC. And then we are planning to set up states as well as district EOC to meet the ASEAN ICT Roadmap 2025 and beyond. Because in 2025, the AHA Center of ASEAN is looking to have a interoperability of 10 EOCs of ASEAN members states. So this is a great chance to actually upgrading as well as to improve the data collection and then the information management of disaster-related statistics. And the second one is to provide a standards, not only standard for disaster for damage and losses, but also standards for hazard and risk map, for example, by providing the by developing the hazard and risk map, vulnerability maps, and as well. And then we also have, in terms of capability, we would like to approach the push and pull strategies because at the moment, NAPMA, we have the disaster trust fund. We manage the disaster trust fund. Instead of just given every year a fund to states and districts to manage the disaster risk management at the local level, we would like to maybe use the approach of carrot and stick. If you want something, then do something. For example, you want the fund, then give us the data, for example. And then the trainings, yes, the trainings is essential to enhance the capability, especially at the local level. And then the third one is the trustworthy, I think, because in Malaysia, the disaster management, we have 3 tiers of management. We have federal level, we have state level, and we have district level. So this is some kind of horizontal management which we have to improve the capacity or the encourage them to work on or to gain the data more for the betterment of disaster management. And then the second one is a portion portfolio. This refer to the cross-cutting and then multi-agency, which is for each sector, the portfolio that they have, we have to encourage them to actually play their roles and then play shared responsibility in terms of disaster risk reduction effort. And then, of course, the last one is regular engagement, because we are not dealing with just vertical agency, but also horizontal, and we have a lots of stakeholders, for example, NGOs, we have in academician in university, this is the needs to have a consultation, regular consultation in terms of what kind of data, what kind of information that we need. So I think as a summary, I would like to emphasize that the statistic that we are talking about is not only referring to the data that have been collected due to the impact of disaster, but also the information or data that we need to gain to actually improve our planning in terms of prevention, mitigation, all cycles of disaster risk management. With that, I end my presentation. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you very much, Ms. Chair. Terima kasih. Terrific timing and a very concise and informative overview of the situation in Malaysia. Still waiting for some questions in the chat, I believe. So just I will take the opportunity just to summarize a couple of things that you said, perhaps to get people thinking. So in Malaysia, you have the 3 tiers of disaster-related management at the federal, state and district levels, which benefit from encouragement in working together horizontally and vertically. In Malaysia, there are different types of disasters, floods, earthquakes, tsunamis, and others. Malaysia, in terms of flooding, is one of the most prone countries in ASEAN. In terms of the institutional level, there's the National Disaster Command Center, which operates 24/7, and this facility provides daily monitoring and information provision. There's an app or an information dissemination tool called My DIMS, and you're looking to expand this service potentially in the future. So potentially we could explore how that may be done. NATMA, your agency, is responsible for the Sendai Framework Monitor, and I believe you mentioned you have some issues there in terms of getting data on or accurate data on damage and losses. Perhaps something to highlight and discuss later. The 4 issues that you highlighted were disconnected data of disaster to national systems, a lack of mandate for disaster risk reduction reporting, the security concerned in terms of data collection, and the lack of standardization in the reporting format compatible with the Sendai framework. And you also have policy and regulatory opportunities, capability building opportunities, and opportunities to further build collaboration and trust between different levels of government and partners. As has been also mentioned, participants, there's time and room to put up your hand and ask questions in the chat box. And I might also direct your attention to reflect upon your own country's situation at institutions, what potential learnings you gained from that presentation, and perhaps reflecting upon the structures, the institutions and the processes and how they compare with your own country and what lessons could potentially be learned and discussed. Now, I would like to go to our second presentation and welcome Ms. Vivian Ilarina, the Assistant National Statistician, excuse me, for the Macroeconomic Accounts Service from the Philippine Statistics Office, to deliver insights on the pilot study on disaster risk reduction expenditures in the Philippines. Welcome and thank you. The floor is yours, Ms. Vivian. Maraming salamat po. Thank you. Hello, Ms. Vivian. Chair or staff, I did note that Vivian left the chat, so I'm just wondering if she's in the session. Oh, she's here. Sorry.
Thank you very much,
please proceed.
Mr. Chair. So, good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me clearly? Okay, thank you. So, I am pleased to present to you the study of the Philippines in developing the disaster law. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Vivian.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Can you hear me?
It's a little bit choppy, Vivian.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Hello?
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Please proceed.
Can you hear me? Okay. So again, let me start. So good afternoon, everyone. So I am pleased to present to you the study of the Philippines in developing the disaster risk reduction expenditure. And this is linked with the system of national accounts. So how did we start the DRRE? So we started in 2017. We participated
Chair or staff, I'm just experiencing some audio issues.
Okay. Yes. So can you hear me now? Okay. So we started developing the DRRE way back in 2017. Okay. In 2017, and when we participated in several technical working groups and then the following year, 2018, we as a part of the of the UNS. This is along with the Fiji, Bangladesh, and Indonesia. And the time. Hello. Can you hear me? Is that okay?
Yes, Vivian, yes.
Hello.
Yeah, please continue.
Hello. Can you
Yes.
hear me now?
Yes, please continue.
Hello?
The line is a little choppy
Hello?
sometimes.
Hello.
I think she's having some technical problem.
Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Although the line is a little bit choppy, it's going in and out. It's not a very good line. Okay, I think we are having some challenges with the audio there. It's
Can you hear me? Okay, I'm sorry. Okay. And now it was in 2019 when we started developing the okay. So we started the DRR of the okay. Can you hear me now? Okay. Now let me proceed to the next slide. Okay. Now on the next slide, the development the development of the DR. RRE in the Philippines, next slide, supports both the country's national priorities, including for the Philippines and also the Vision 2040, which is a long-term vision. Long-term vision for 2040. Along with this, we are also subscribed
Okay.
Okay, I think we're still having trouble with the line in and out.
Hello? Can you hear me? Okay. So this one is our study on the DRRE supports both the country's national priorities, including international commitments, and the priority, of course, is in terms of the Philippine development related statistics, and this is to support all a framework for better analysis of the occurrence of the disaster that would result in a more effective disaster management. Okay, so the statistics for disaster can be categorized into statistics before disaster and the disaster framework that will link to the system of national accounting. In terms of the coordination mechanism, we have several mechanisms put in place in the Philippines, and I wanted to highlight on the 4 interagency committee on environment statistics, the Philippines, the lodging house of all the SDG indicators. So we have 155 indicators in the Philippines. These are unique indicators. And the Sendai framework is included. Then we have the sources of data. So we have the National Economic Development Authority, and this is on data on the overseas and the Office of the Civil Defense and the Philippine Statistics Authority.
Hello?
I am now in slide 7. Can you see me? Hello?
Yeah, Vivian, I think we need, there are some connectivity issues from your end. Well, I don't know if we can have some remedy for this one right at this point. Would you like, because we cannot hear you very well, would you like Virginia to continue for you if she has better audio, if it's okay with you? Otherwise, we can just have your presentation pre-recorded and have it run in the next meeting, if it's okay with you. And also we can post it in the Confluence platform later on. Yeah, because we can hardly hear, although the presentation is very good. Hello, Vivian, can you hear? Can you hear what I said?
Is Virginia on the line? I'm not sure.
Yeah, if it's just okay with her, I mean, it's.
Yeah, I'm not sure Vivian is.
Yeah, otherwise, because we are also pressed for time, I think we can just request Vivian to have it pre-recorded and post it and run it again in the next meeting. Yeah, okay. Clinton, please continue. We can have the discussion already for Malaysia's.
Sure. Thank you very much. The audio issues were unfortunate there, but it was a great presentation and some very informative slides put together. So I now direct the session to a discussion of up to 20 minutes and the opportunity to explore questions and insights primarily from the Malaysia presentation. I see that Timothy has his hand up. Timothy, please, you have the floor. Please proceed with your question or contribution.
Oh, thanks very much, Clinton. And forgive me for not putting my camera on. I'm having some broadband issues. It'll probably crash my system.
No problem.
But look, thanks, Madam Director. I really enjoyed your presentation. It was real insight into the day-to-day issues that an NDMA has, you know, in collecting data and putting it into the Sendai Framework Monitor. And I'm from UNDRR, and I'm the Sendai Framework Monitoring guy. So it's good to hear firsthand what these problems are on the ground. And I just wanted to, it's not really a question, but it's just more of a reflection, just to reassure you that your experiences with the targets is quite reflective of some of the experiences of other countries in the region, where the NDMAs have the information for targets A and B, so they're able to put that in the monitor quite easily. But when they get to C and D, it's a real challenge because most of that's kept by somebody else, right? And you know, getting that from them is an issue. One thing that we have found that has been helpful in the past is holding like some form of national coordination workshop or something where we get all the players into the room together to have a conversation about what is needed and why it's important, and making those linkages to the SDGs, and you know, reassuring them of these security issues that they're worried about and the ownership issues of, you know, sharing it with the NDMA. It's our data, you know, not yours. You know, what are you going to do with it? And coming up with some kind of a plan to help move forward on each year in terms of how it's reporting, the country's reporting. And this was quite helpful in Australia, actually, where there was some issues between the states and the national government, and they actually came up with a plan each year on how they were actually going to do it and what was needed, and it seemed to work. But you know, on that note, though, I will say that Malaysia, I mean, I look at all the countries in Asia Pacific, and Malaysia I always highlight as one of our better performing countries. So you're actually doing very well. So even if you think that you're not, you're actually doing very well. But if there's anything we can do to help, I'm happy to take it offline. But just to reflect that some of the experiences you've listed there are common, I think, across the region, particularly the disconnecting of data and lack of standardization of reporting. Thanks.
If I may respond, Tim. Hi, Tim. Long time no see you.
I know. Good to see you.
Good to to see you too. So yes, thank you. And yes, we have our national coordination workshop with you in 2017. And then each year we have a refreshing course actually for our 41 PIC or liaison officer from each ministry or agency related disaster every year. But in last year we cannot make it because of the COVID. But you know, like the issue in terms of gathering the data is the turnover is quite high in the agency. So if this year we train or we have one person in charge, the next year maybe they change. So every year we have to do the refreshing course for the new one or for the existing person in charge for each agency. Thank you, team.
Thanks very much. We can talk more. Sorry, Clinton. We won't take up your time. Okay.
No problem. Thank you thank you very much, Tim, for that reflection. It's important. Rafiq has a hand up from Bangladesh. Please proceed. The floor is yours. Rafiq, I cannot hear any audio. Is everybody else having the same issue there?
Please, thanks for two presentation, from one for Philippines and from Malaysia, as a nice presentation. And I have no questions or comments, but I would like to mention the chat box is not open for all. Please open the chat box. If you open the chat box, we put something. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. That is useful to know. So if that could be rectified, do we have any hands up at the moment? If not, just a. Okay, yes, we have a hand up here now from Maria. Please proceed. You have the floor.
Yes, I have a question. In your presentations, we can see that the NADMA is a very, the system is very much in place with regards to the setting up of disaster-related statistics. But as we see here, that the development and production of disaster is really a collaboration between the NSOs, the NADMA, and other relevant agencies. So are there any plans anytime soon for setting up like a collaboration or coordination mechanisms between NSO? Because I think this is the only one missing. And also we need to also alert our leadership, political leadership, to come up with the importance of setting this up, because otherwise it would be Malaysia would be one of the countries that will have the best practices if this will happen. So that's my question for Che.
Thank you, Maria. If I may respond. Okay. As I mentioned, Malaysia, we have 3 tiers of disaster management, and then we have a committee for the management. It's not the NADMA at the federal level in charge of the disaster risk management issue, but it's a committee form, consists of all agencies related to the disaster, including the NSO. And then we have all sectors there. We have the representative from education, from health, from social, from the economics, and the committee is chaired by the Prime Minister's or Deputy Prime Minister or the Minister responsible for disaster. So in terms of the political commitment that you have said, because it's a committee led by the minister, so it should give some sort of power or the coordination between all the sectoral or the agencies is already be formed actually. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Chair.
Thank you, Maria, for your contribution there. And I would just like to remind participants that even if you don't have a question per se, we welcome reflections and comments from your own country context on the presentation. Okay, I have something to add here. In terms of the opportunities, so what was written on the slide about opportunities, which was your final slide, Ms. Chair, how would you prioritize those opportunities in terms of looking into the future, whether that's resourcing or what may come first, how they fit into each other? How would you prioritize those opportunities?
The opportunity in the future. Okay. Frankly speaking, there is no, like perfect setting in terms of managing the disaster because of the dynamic, and then because of the complexity. Now we are talking about the man-made hazards, for the urbanization and the climate change. And then in future, we would like to actually go for more technological approach, maybe, because now we are talking about we are talking about the big data management, we are talking about the AI, we are talking about the now in Malaysia we don't have a central platform for disaster information, because they are looking for NADMA to be a centralized agency to collect or to have all the disaster data, which it is not in our capacity at the moment. And then in future, all the agencies or our partners want to see that when they need data or when they need information, the only agency is NADMA, which is a quite challenge for us to be to manage the disaster, in terms of the within the technological environment in the future. I think I answer your question.
Sure, thank you. I also had a reflection upon the National Disaster Command Center, and if you could just give a bit more of a background on its operation and its actual role in collecting statistics and reporting. I think you said that it does do some reporting, but I was just interested to hear a bit more about that role.
Yeah, looking forward to have a further discussion with you, Clinton.
Sure. Okay. Does anybody else from the floor have any reflections on the presentation? If not, I understand, unfortunately, that we had some audio issues with the Philippines presentation, so we were unable, unfortunately, to address a lot of the content from that presentation. But I would like to sincerely thank you, Ms. Chair, and indeed Ms. Vivian from the Philippines for your contributions to the session today, and also for everybody's participation and attendance. And indeed, thank you for welcoming me to moderate this session on behalf of UN Habitat, and indeed UN Habitat and I would welcome opportunities to collaborate and discuss projects into the future. So I shall now revert back to the chair, Madam Chair, to close today's session. Thank you very much, and baiklah. Thank you.
Baiklah, Clinton. Thank you, Clinton, for your excellent facilitation, and then Ms. Chair for your great presentation. And hopefully we can have Ms. Vivian in our next session, or her presentation will be available on the Confluence platform. So before closing our today's meeting, I would like to ask the secretary to speak if you have any housekeeping announcements or any other businesses. Maria, yes?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Chair. So after this, I would just like to inform everybody that the Philippines presentation will be pre-recorded, and then we will run it again in the next meeting, and it will also be available in the materials that we upload after this meeting. And also, we will send an email to the group about the workshop that we will be planning for to have more details on the 5-year strategic plan, and also the plans for the training component of the TWG. So that's all, Ms. Chair, from the Secretariat.
Thank you, Maria. So now we are close to the end of today's meeting, and then I would like to thank you all again for your active participation, and then also thank you, Secretariat, and then the moderator for your excellent work for today. It was a very informative meeting as always. And again, I highly encourage all members of the technical working group to put your inputs in the 5-year strategic plan by providing your comments and suggestions. And then hopefully you all can participate. The next workshop will be in 2 weeks. So if there are none, before I declare this meeting closed, I would like to let you know that our next meeting is scheduled on Thursday, 27th of May, 2021. Also, don't forget, please put on your calendar that we will have a workshop in 2 weeks, and then hopefully we can get an email from the Secretariat with more information and the link. And then with this, I would like to close the technical working groups meeting. Thank you very much, and then see you in 2 weeks.
Ms. Yuna, Ms. Chair,
yes?
I have one last reminder. Yeah, we would like to encourage the members who are in this meeting to please register. So Kun Ing, our staff, will be providing the links to those who have not registered. So it's important that we record so that we will be updated on the participation of the members. So that's it. Thank you, Ms. Chair.
Thank you, Maria. So those who are not...
Yes. Ngày nay nó hiện chung disaster.
Sorry? Sorry, someone's microphone is on. Yeah. Yes, Mr. Rafiq.
Yes, respected Chair and distinguished participants, I would like to inform all of you that Bangladesh is a small topic. Bangladesh, in collaboration with UN Women, already has conducted the pilot survey on age, sex, and disability disaggregated data for disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation in the 3 vulnerable disaster-prone sub-districts of Bangladesh on 15 March to 5 May 2021. The next working group meeting, I shall discuss about the issue in detail if I shall get permission by the technical working group meeting. Thanks. This is the another work.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Rafiq, for your additional information. So before close this session, does anyone want to say something or any announcements or comments? So if not, yes, Rafiq. If there is none, I declare the meeting closed. Thank you very much, and then see you in 2 weeks. Stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.